faithfully sharing value, bringing you insights from books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'm going to introduce this book called Let Customers Set Their Own Prices. In modern society, every product has its price, and changes in prices directly affect our quality of life. For businesses, price is the lifeline. Research shows that if a product's price can be increased by 1%, a company's profitability can improve by 10.29%. You could say that whether the price is reasonable directly determines a company's survival, yet many managers don't know how to price things. Some think that offering good quality at low prices and selling more with less profit is a good strategy, while others feel there's no need to worry too much about pricing because the market decides it and they have no say.
Yeah.
So, what kind of pricing strategy can make a company earn the most money? The author of this book, Jagmohan Raju, is the chair of the marketing department at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and an expert in new product pricing strategies and distribution channel management. Ah, Captain Key Raju. He has also served as a strategy consultant for many well-known companies like Wyeth and Time Warner, and has taught pricing strategies to executives of Chinese companies such as CITIC Bank, Capital Airports Holding Company, and New Oriental. The book has 10 chapters. The author first analyzes common traditional pricing misconceptions and then introduces an innovative pricing strategy in each chapter, along with the underlying logic of these strategies. Through numerous real and fascinating cases, the author tells us how businesses should apply these strategies to set reasonable prices.
To stand undefeated in fierce market competition.
Next, I'll explain this book from two aspects. First, what are the common pricing misconceptions? Second, what is a good pricing strategy? Let's start with the first aspect. Common pricing misconceptions. Many companies use traditional and simple methods when pricing, such as cost-plus pricing, competition-based pricing, and customer-oriented pricing. But actually, these pricing methods are all wrong. Let's talk about them one by one. First, cost-plus pricing. Simply put, it means setting a sales target, calculating the average cost based on that target, then adding a profit margin to that cost to set the price. For example, if a phone's sales target is 2 million units, the production cost per unit after spreading it out is 1,000 yuan. The company wants to maintain a 70% profit margin. So each phone would sell for 1,700 yuan. This 70% profit level might be set by the company itself or based on industry practices, cost-plus pricing. There are three main advantages why it's so popular. First, it's simple. Anyone who can do basic math can price products. Second, it seems fair, at least it appears businesses aren't seeking exorbitant profits, just making a reasonable markup. Third, financially speaking, this method ensures profitability, seeming like a good approach, but the author counters each point. First, simplicity isn't necessarily good. Cost-plus pricing's biggest flaw is being a closed system that isolates businesses from customers, using rigid calculations while ignoring real consumer needs. The book gives an example. In Western markets, a Chinese company priced scarves at 200 to 300 yuan with very low production costs.
Logically, this should be competitive, yet sales were poor.
Conversely, a foreign company's scarves priced at 2,000, 3,000 yuan sold much better. Because many buy scarves as gifts for important people, and 200 to 300 yuan scarves seem too cheap to present. Now, second, fairness isn't as ideal as it seems. Economics shows that firms adding a fair markup to average costs lack incentive to minimize costs, since they just pass increases to consumers. This prevents profit growth, and fair pricing doesn't guarantee fair outcomes. Take pharmaceuticals. If a drug costs little to make, should it always be cheap? The author argues against cost-based pricing here. It doesn't reward R&D. Higher prices incentivize innovation to solve medical challenges. Moreover, cost-based pricing can't guarantee profit per sale since costs are calculated based on sales volume. But if actual sales fall short of projections, costs exceed expectations, making the originally set price too low, and this happens all too often in reality, when sales underperform, companies often lower prices to boost volume. But this way, even if sales targets are met, the company might still fail to turn a profit overall. The second common flawed pricing method is competition-based pricing, setting prices by mimicking competitors. Some managers don't know how to price products, so they just check what similar items cost in the market.
They'll add or subtract a bit from those prices. It's simple, avoids thorough market research, seems safe, and matching competitors reduces competitive risk.
But competition-based pricing creates two serious problems. First, it makes pricing decision-makers passive. For instance, self-driving car manufacturers kept referencing each other's prices without considering actual demand, resulting in consistently inflated pricing, all due to this method. The second problem, it triggers industry-wide price erosion. Setting low prices is the quickest way to gain market share since everyone loves bargains. But this drags down entire industry prices, leaving even dominant players unprofitable. And the classic example is Boeing versus Airbus in the 1990s. Airbus kept expanding market share, so Boeing retaliated fiercely, both slashing prices by 20%.
Boeing even sold planes at a loss to secure orders. Short term, they won new contracts and market share. But this victory came at great cost.
In 1997, Boeing posted its first loss in 50 years. From 1996 to 1998, profit margins for Boeing commercial planes plummeted from 10% to under 1%. The third common flawed method is customer-oriented pricing. Under this approach, companies evaluate customers to determine each individual's willingness to pay, then price according to their maximum willingness to pay. For example, car salespeople typically place high price tags on vehicles to emphasize their value. They take potential buyers on test drives, collecting personal information during the process to assess what the customer is willing to pay for the car. If the salesperson thinks a customer isn't price-focused or isn't skilled at bargaining, they'll give various reasons why the price can't be lowered. But if they sense the customer is price-sensitive, they'll offer a discount. Many believe customer-oriented pricing offers great flexibility, adjusting prices based on purchasing power to boost sales while maintaining good profits. But customer-oriented pricing has two clear drawbacks. First, as price information becomes more transparent, this strategy harms overcharged customers long-term, who are often the business's best clients. Second, it creates lose-lose situations where buyers aggressively negotiate, even leveraging competitor comparisons for bargaining advantage. For instance, a former Merrill Lynch CIO had a foolproof bargaining tactic. When IBM salespeople visited, he'd place competitors' mugs on his desk. This made IBM reps immediately slash $1 million off each mainframe's price. Fearing competitors would steal the deal, this dynamic leaves both sides dissatisfied. Buyers can't confirm they got the best price, while sellers see shrinking profits per order, forcing constant cost-cutting.
Eventually, no one in the market pays for high-quality products or services.
Having covered common pricing pitfalls, let's discuss the second aspect. What makes a good pricing strategy? The author argues good pricing strategies follow three principles: customer orientation, differentiated pricing, and flexible pricing rules. This might seem confusing. Earlier, we called customer-oriented pricing flawed, warning against discriminatory variable pricing. So why advocate customer orientation here? Actually, the author opposes simplistic discrimination, arbitrarily categorizing customers and charging different prices for identical items. The customer orientation he advocates means businesses must deeply understand customers to make them willingly pay. We'll break these principles into two steps: understanding your users and implementing targeted flexible pricing. First, let's discuss understanding your users. For businesses, the ultimate pricing goal is stimulating purchases through reasonable pricing to maximize profits. Historically, many companies used cost-based pricing derived from production expenses, but the author argues good strategies should be customer-oriented. Conduct consumer research and find optimal pricing from the customer's perspective. Who makes up your client base? Their purchasing behaviors determine how you should charge them. To understand users, companies must focus on three aspects. First, what are your target customers like? For example, are they price sensitive? How brand loyal? What are their interests? Take Pinduoduo users who prioritize low prices, hence group buying strategies work well. But JD.com customers care more about product quality and fast delivery.
So, JD.com initially adopted a self-operated model with robust logistics and warehousing systems.
Second aspect, know what products and services customers expect from your company. Classic example is Google's free strategy. Google knew users primarily wanted quick access to information, so it provided a powerful search engine for free, used by over 1 billion people daily. Google also knew advertisers valued measurable results. Thus, it charges advertisers per actual click, a model generating enormous wealth. Third aspect, closely monitor purchasing behaviors, how decisions are made, what they buy, where, and frequency. For example, Amazon's Subscribe and Save program offers recurring deliveries of essentials like coffee, bread, paper towels, and detergent with free shipping and 15% discounts. Through this approach, Amazon locks in users with recurring consumption needs, understanding when they buy and how much they spend, thereby encouraging repeat purchases and developing solid pricing strategies. Second step is targeted flexible pricing. The author introduces 3 specific methods. The first is called differentiated pricing, meaning setting different prices for different products and services. We all know that different customers have varying willingness to pay when consuming. If a company uses a single price, the risk is high. Too low a price prevents profit maximization, while too high a price may scare away many customers. So when pricing, it's best to tier product prices to ensure customers with different price sensitivities can find items they're happy with. So when I think of, and the company can maximize profits, common practices include adding features to base products for high-end consumers or reducing features for budget consumers, like airlines adding restrictions such as requiring purchase 14 days in advance or no weekend use when selling cheap tickets. The book gives an example of an automatic price reduction strategy. Harris Rosen, a hotel tycoon in Florida, founded the largest independent hotel in Florida. Early in his venture, Harris's business wasn't smooth. Right after he scraped together the down payment for his first hotel, the U.S. economy took a heavy hit, nearly destroying Florida's tourism industry and plunging into crisis. Rosen implemented an automatic price reduction mechanism for hotel rooms. He believed that an empty room meant a loss. So the longer a room stays vacant, the lower its price gets. For instance, at Rosen hotels, prices are full price in the morning, but drop to half price later in the afternoon. This mechanism effectively gauges different consumers' ability to pay. Among Rosen hotel guests, those who aren't short on money and don't want to wait will book rooms right away,
While those seeking value for money will book in the afternoon.
Thanks to this policy, regardless of economic conditions, Rosen hotels maintained high performance with occupancy rates above 90% for years and profit margins beating competitors. If you want customers with varying price sensitivities to become your patrons, you can try differentiated pricing.
Now, the second method we're discussing targets highly price-sensitive users.
These shoppers prioritize price over other factors. So to attract them, companies can use low price or performance-based pricing strategies. First, for low price strategies, there's an example about Priceline's dynamic pricing model. Dynamic pricing means sellers don't set fixed prices, but let consumers name their own price. On Priceline, when booking flights, consumers specify dates and destinations, then make an offer. Airlines on Priceline match offers with routes and times, like red-eye flights or multi-stop itineraries. If the offer is too low, airlines can reject it. Once rejected, consumers must choose another flight time.
To attract price-sensitive users, Priceline matches low-cost services from airlines and hotels.
Consumers easily get cheap flights and hotels. With this model, Priceline went public on NASDAQ just 1 year after founding. Within weeks, its stock rose from $80 to $160, peaking at 6,000 tickets sold daily. If your customers care deeply about price, but less about other features, use low-price strategies. Besides low prices, businesses can use performance-based pricing, pay only if satisfied, to attract price-sensitive users. Traditionally, most transactions create conflict. Sellers want higher prices, buyers want cheaper deals. Even when deals close, both sides compromise, but performance-based pricing resolves this conflict. If lowering prices doesn't work, showing post-purchase effectiveness becomes key. In 2007, Johnson & Johnson used this approach promoting a cancer drug in the UK. Each treatment cost £3,000, over 20,000 yuan, but effectiveness was unstable. Initially, neither UK healthcare authorities nor patients accepted it. Later, Johnson & Johnson changed tactics. If after 4 treatment courses, a patient's abnormal proteins didn't decrease by 25%, they'd get a full refund. Like, this pricing strategy has 2 benefits. First, it shifts consumers from outright rejection to willingness to try. If the drug doesn't work, refunds are available. Most people accept this, shifting focus from price fairness to actual drug value. Performance pricing reduces consumer risk and eliminates their biggest concern. What if this thing I bought doesn't work? But with an effectiveness guarantee, they're more willing to pay. The second benefit: for new drugs, companies don't price based on R&D costs, but on product value. Meaning, how much does it save compared to traditional treatments? Say traditional treatment costs $20,000. Even if the new drug's cost is low, it could be priced near $20,000. This way, companies earn higher profits and gain motivation to develop new drugs. Additionally, to attract price-sensitive users, many businesses wage price wars, using low prices to grab market share. To many American marketing experts, price wars are a last resort tactic.
Like an atomic bomb, destroying competitors and yourself.
But the author believes price wars are excellent for quickly outpacing competitors and establishing dominance. With proper timing and calculations, you can profit from price wars. The core is thorough break-even analysis, knowing how much sales growth offsets profit loss from price cuts.
The book provides a formula with 3 metrics: price cut percentage, post-cut cost reduction percentage, and profit margin. Plugging these determines break-even.
For example, microwave manufacturer Galans launched a price war in 1996. Their profit margin was 40%, and they projected a 40% price cut would boost sales, lowering costs by 30 to 40%. Plugging into the formula, Galans found that sales growth over 90.5% would cover losses. At the time, Galans expected sales to increase by 100%, meaning that launching a price war was a reasonable decision. In reality, Galans's sales reached 200%, boosting their market share from 25% to 34.5%. Having discussed how to price for highly price-sensitive users, next let's talk about how to price for low price-sensitive users, which is the third pricing method. So, these users don't see price as the most important factor when consuming. So, reasonable value appeals more to these customers, such as sense of identity, unique products and services, or hobbies. First, let's talk about sense of identity. People pay more for a prestigious status. A classic example is banks' platinum credit cards and black cards. In the early 2000s in the US, as credit card competition intensified, banks often issued cards for free with no annual fees to attract customers. But American Express, launched a black card with an annual fee as high as $2,500. The Centurion card doesn't accept applications. Only those invited by the bank can get it, and it has high limits. Even private jets can be bought with it. The reason the black card attracts high net worth individuals to pay is precisely because it offers a special sense of identity. Besides sense of identity, if unique services are provided to low price sensitive users, they're also willing to pay high prices. For example, we all know that in recent years, the newspaper industry has suffered from internet impact with declining sales, but many newspapers and magazines have used price cuts or even free offerings to compete for readers. However, Bloomberg News, a well-known financial media and information provider, adopted a high-price strategy, setting monthly subscriptions at $1,700, successfully defeating competitors. The key to victory isn't price, but that Bloomberg provides excellent information services. In the fast-changing financial markets, traders need to quickly grasp information to gain an advantage, and Bloomberg precisely offers accurate market data and analysis, so users naturally pay for such high-priced services. Third, the strategy for low-price-sensitive users is willingness-based pricing. That is, customers pay what they want. In 2007, a British band called Radiohead conducted an experiment, releasing an album with no set price, allowing fans to download it for any price. As soon as fans click to the payment page, a dialogue pops up. How much? You decide. Many doubted this pricing approach, believing it would lose money. But the band succeeded, ultimately attracting over 1.8 million people who downloaded this album, with customers paying an average of $2.26. For the band, this generated more income than traditional commission models, with some fans even paying $100 for the download.
Moreover, this innovative pricing strategy boosted the band's popularity.
Their subsequent 40-pound deluxe album sold out immediately upon release. Many don't understand how this novel pricing succeeded. The key is truly knowing your customers, like Radiohead did by building a loyal fan base willing to support their idols. For unknown artists without fans, success would be unlikely. Why does willingness-based pricing work? Because humans have deep-rooted reciprocity instincts. People naturally possess a sense of fairness. Even without economic incentives, they exhibit altruism. For example, even for unpriced items, they'll pay what they consider fair rather than taking advantage. Social dynamics intensify this innate sense of fairness. At a restaurant, seeing others pay makes people feel embarrassed about underpaying or not paying at all. This phenomenon is called social monitoring. With social monitoring, people pay voluntarily, and some businesses skillfully leverage it. A U.S. restaurant using willingness-based pricing had a tactic. If guests paid too little, they'd refund the money. Though customers could take the refund, most paid decent amounts to avoid public embarrassment. Resultingly, customers paid 10 to 20% more than at comparable restaurants. Of course, voluntary payment willingness also relates to American culture. In many Western countries, customers are accustomed to tipping, making voluntary payment common and more likely than in non-tipping cultures. Of course, targeted flexible pricing also means no pricing strategy is set in stone. Businesses must assess the situation and adjust pricing strategies timely to innovate. Sometimes innovative pricing involves risks, but its strategic advantages are undeniable. For example, timeshare pricing splits product costs into smaller units to stimulate purchases. Take American vacation culture. Many families buy small villas in resorts, but during economic downturns, people can't afford homes, leaving developers with surplus properties. Smart developers adopted timeshare purchasing, co-owning properties for shared usage periods. Suppose 50 people jointly buy a vacation apartment. Each owns 1/50th equity. They agree. Each gets 1 week annually while sharing taxes and maintenance fees. By splitting costs, price barriers break down and markets expand rapidly. All right, that covers most of let customers set their own prices. As technology advances, consumers gain pricing knowledge and spend smarter, increasing business challenges. For instance, when consumers know company costs inside out, price hikes become difficult.
But the author argues businesses now have more tools to collect consumer data, understand them, and offer personalized services for higher profits.
Meanwhile, as consumers accept diverse pricing methods, businesses gain flexibility but must prioritize pricing strategies more. Only by fully understanding customers and creatively developing better pricing can businesses remain undefeated. Okay, let customers set their own prices. That's our interpretation. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.